Hello, my lovely rose garden. I'm Avalon,
And I'm Ray.
and welcome back to chapter 34 of Throne of Ass. I feel like we just never progress. I feel like I open the book every time and we're halfway through.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we've really haven't progressed in the story either.
Yeah, like, things have happened, but did they connect to anything? I can't draw any clear lines.
Things have happened, but did they really?
Well,
Does it really matter?
I think that the kind of slog that the middle part of this book has kind of been taking a toll on our commentary as well, because there's just only so many times and ways you could say this is dumb. I wish they would focus on the plot that was advertised on the blurb, like,
Yeah.
but get through it we must.
Yeah.
And we can only do that by reading the next words on the page, so here we go.
Yep.
Elisicles sat by a window in her bedroom, watching the snow dance in the night air. Nehemia had long since returned to her own rooms, tears dried and shoulders squared once more. The clock chimed 11, and Elisicles stretched, but then stopped as pain seized her stomach. She bent over, focusing on her breathing, and waited for the cramp to pass. She'd been like this for over an hour now, and she pulled her blanket tighter around herself, the heat of the roaring fire not adequately reaching her seat by the window. Thankfully, Philippa entered, extending a cup of tea. "Here, child," she said. "This will help." She placed it on the table beside the assassin and rested a hand on the armchair. "Pity what happened to those Elway rebels," she said quietly enough that no listening ears might hear. "I can't imagine what the princess must be feeling." Elisicles felt anger bubble alongside the pain in her stomach. "She's fortunate to have a good friend like you, though." I think this is how I ended the last chapter, but make Nehemia the main. She deserves it. She's more compelling. She has more interesting conflicts. She should be the main character.
For real.
Elisicles touched... Is it Philippa or Philippa?
I would imagine Philippa.
Philippa, whatever. I'm not a fan of this name in general. Not just for the character, but in general, Philippa is just a weird name. "Thank you." She grabbed her teacup and hissed, almost dropping it into her lap as the scalding hot cup bit into her hand. "Careful now," Philippa chuckled. "I didn't know assassins could be so clumsy. If you need anything, send word. I've had my fair share of monthly pains." Philippa ruffled... Her voice keeps changing, I don't know. Philippa ruffled Elisicles' hair and left. Elisicles would have thanked her again, but another wave of cramping took over and she leaned forward as the door closed. Damn, bitch. That sucks. Like, legit. And I'm not even gonna complain about this because I do wish that
Period pain was more addressed in books.
Yeah, like, this sucks. It's something very real that most AFAB people have to deal with.
Yeah.
Would be nice if that got acknowledged. I don't think that this is the most eloquent way of doing it, but at least it's here. I'll take that over nothing.
Yeah. Like, I'll give Sarah J. Maas this one thing. Good job acknowledging that periods exist, let alone period pain. I've maybe come across 5 series or books in general in my life that, don't revolve specifically around, puberty and whatnot, that acknowledge that periods are a thing.
Yeah. I did enjoy it more in... Oh, shit, I'm blanking on the name. The Tortall books. Tamara Pierce, the first one. Fuck, I can't remember the first one's name. I know In the Hand of the Goddess is the second one.
I don't know.
Is it just Alana? Is that the name of the first one? But that one's interesting because she's pretending to be a boy. So obviously no one has told her what to expect. So when it happens, she's kind of freaked out. But they actually do, like, establish a monthly care routine for her with, like, the few people who know that she's a girl. So that was, I think it's really well handled in that series. That series plays with gender in general a lot in a way that I really found enjoyable. Definitely an egg cracker
Yeah.
for me.
I think the first time that I ever came across it in a book that wasn't, like I said, specifically about puberty was that they mentioned that Toru Honda from Fruits Basket has her own bathroom because, you know, she has a period and no one else and she's surrounded by men in Fruits Basket who don't know shit about shit. The dumbest men on the face of the planet.
Yeah. It's nice to see in a outside of a contemporary "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret"
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
setting.
That's why I say like something that doesn't revolve around, you know, adolescence and puberty and whatnot.
Unrelated side note, I really did like the movie adaptation of "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret,"
Yeah,
and
it was pretty
I
good.
would own it.
Mm-hmm.
I would highly recommend it to anyone who has nieces or daughters or other people in your life who are around like that fifth, sixth grade, getting ready to go to middle school age.
Yeah.
It's just a fun thing to watch together, and yeah, it was good. It was a good movie. It was a couple years back, but
Yeah.
gosh, was that one of the last movies we saw before we moved or something?
Maybe. I think so.
I remember being somewhere that we aren't normally when we watched it.
Yeah.
Anywho, unrelated. Her weight gain over the past 3.5 months had allowed for her monthly cycles to return after near starvation in Endovier had made them vanish. Elisicles groaned. How was she going to train like this? The duel was 4 weeks away. Okay, that's pretty good actually. I like the acknowledgement
Mm-hmm.
that if you're severely underweight, it can cause your period to stop.
Mm-hmm.
The snowflakes sparkled and shimmered beyond the glass panes of the window, twirling and weaving as they flew to the ground in a waltz that was beyond human comprehension. How could Elena expect her to defeat... Total non sequitur about the snowflakes. How could Elena expect her to defeat some evil in this castle when there was so much more of it out there? Oh, okay, never mind. I take it back. I'm being catty. I'm being unnecessarily mean. What was any of this compared to what was occurring in other kingdoms? As close as Endovier and Calicola, even. The door to her bedroom opened and someone approached. I heard about Nehemia. It was Chaol. What are you? Isn't it late for you to be here? She asked, pulling the blankets tight. Are you sick? I'm indisposed. Because of what happened to those rebels? Didn't he get it? Elisicles grimaced. No, I'm truly feeling unwell. It makes me sick too, Chaol. Whoosh.
Whoosh.
I love Chaol so much. Oh, Chaol.
He have only like a brother,
I think so.
so it's all like, yeah, he doesn't know what this is. He doesn't know what's going on.
He's just like, oh, she's collapsed by the window. Damn, me too, bitch.
Damn. I'm also indisposed.
It just makes me sick. Sis, man.
Just chuck a rock at him.
He'll just bounce off and he'll be like, I wish I could throw rocks at people too. Chaol
Anyway.
murmured, glaring at the floor. All of it, and after seeing Endovier, he rubbed his face as if he could clear away the memories of it. 500 people, he whispered.
500 people.
500 men. Stunned at what he was admitting, she could only watch. Listen, he began and started to pace. I know that I'm sometimes aloof with you, and I know you complain about it to Dorian, but... He turned to her. It's a good thing that you befriended the princess, and I appreciate your honesty and unwavering friendship with her. I know there are rumors about Nehemia's connection to the rebels in Elway, but I'd like to think that if my country was conquered, I would stop at nothing to win back my people's freedom too. She would have replied were it not for the deep pain that wrapped around her lower spine and the sudden churning in her stomach. Oh no, she's gonna speak again. Except this time valid.
See, I would much rather a reference to another Sarah J. Maas book. I'd rather she just shit herself. Immediate diarrhea.
It's been known to happen.
Yeah.
He started, looking at the window. I might have been wrong. The world began to spin and tilt, and Alyssicles closed her eyes. She'd always had horrible cramping, usually accompanied by nausea, but she wouldn't vomit, not right now. Oh, so she can turn it off.
Just shit yourself, bitch.
Chaol, she began. Leo!
Leo!
She began, putting a hand over her mouth as nausea swelled and took control. It's just that I take great pride in my job.
This is the most fun I've had with a Throne of Ass chapter, not gonna lie.
This might be the best one.
This is the best chapter, guys.
I think we found the most entertainment value, legitimate entertainment value that I believe was intentional.
This stupid as fuck is this man standing here like, oh god, all this shit going on politically. Meanwhile, she's just like, can you give me some Midol and shut the fuck up?
Oh, there are tears in my eyes. This is the best chapter.
Here it is, guys.
The best one, period.
Note to self, make the title of this video this is the best chapter. Period.
That is gonna be the title on the thumbnail. Chaol, she said again. Oh, she was going to vomit. And you're Adderlin's assassin. But I was wondering if you wanted to... Chaol, she warned. As he pivoted, Alyssicles vomited all over the floor. He made a disgusted noise, jumping back a foot. Tears sprang up as the bitter, sharp taste filled her mouth. She hung over her knees, letting drool and bile spill on the floor.
Ew.
By the word, you're really sick, aren't you? No shit. Damn, she must have been in some bar fight. Oh, I know what we're recording after this, so I have to gas myself up a little. I have to be ready.
Anyway.
I'll tell you guys about it at the end. He called for a servant, helping her from the chair. The world was clearer now. What had he been asking? Come on, let's get you into bed. I'm not ill like that, she groaned. He sat her on the bed, peeling back the blanket. A servant entered, frowning at the mess on the floor, and shouted for help. Damn, this is a two-person job.
The maid's just all like, she needs some Midol, man.
Then in what way? Her face was so hot she thought it would melt onto the floor. Oh, you idiot. No, sorry, she's thinking that.
Oh, you idiot. My monthly cycles have finally came back.
His face suddenly matched hers and he stepped away, dragging a hand through his short brown hair. I'll take my leave, he stammered and bowed. Alyssicles raised an eyebrow, and then, despite herself, smiled as he left the room as quickly as his feet could go without running, tripping slightly in the doorway as he staggered into the rooms beyond.
Go get some chocolate, bitch.
Alyssicles looked at the servants cleaning.
I'm so sorry,
She started, but they waved her off. Embarrassed and aching, the assassin climbed farther onto her bed and nestled beneath the covers, hoping sleep would come soon. This is the most I have felt connected to this character in the entire book.
Same, honestly.
Like, damn, bitch. Not to be TMI, but me too, bitch.
Not to be TMI, but me too, bitch.
Sometimes you just need to get the little heating pad and the blanket.
Weighted blanket, Midol, chocolate, water. Not getting out of bed for 2 days.
Yeah. And, since we're here and we're talking about AFAB health,
yeah,
it's not just that periods suck, but if you have chronic conditions, periods can cause flare-ups in those chronic conditions. So, like, when I was in middle school and high school, there were multiple times that I had to stay home from school or come home from school early because I was having a menstrual-related flare-up of my chronic conditions. So,
I mean,
it actually is kind of nice to see some representation of that.
Honestly, yeah, once again, TMI, I threw up on every first day.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was always like, "Oh yeah, your grandmother always did that too. So I guess it runs in the family." And I'm just over here like, I don't think this is normal.
I think this is a problem.
I think this is an issue. This is a
But there's so little research
Yeah.
into female reproductive health that, you know, like my pediatrician prescribed me like 800 milligrams of ibuprofen to be taken multiple times a day leading up to my start day so that it would already be in my system. Yeah, like it was really, really bad. But I didn't have a reliable cycle.
Neither did I.
So it was like,
it was so hard. It's just you take ibuprofen every day.
yeah, it was like every morning I just took a shitload of ibuprofen and hoped that it would work out.
Yeah.
And, you know, later on, as I came to understand my chronic health problems and some of the more avoidable triggers more, it got a little better. Because I could avoid certain things that I knew would cause a flare-up.
I still have no idea how to avoid things, and I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Oh well. I just hope my periods stop soon.
Yep.
Yay. Testosterone, please.
Please, testosterone.
Please.
There's testosteres. Like,
Testosterone.
there's gotta be a god of testosterone, right? Aries? Would you pray to Aries for that?
No. I mean,
The Greeks had a god for fucking everything.
I would say Hermes.
Possibly?
Possibly, because,
Possibly.
like, there's a lot, I would say, like, Hermes would be the closest to, like, a god of transgenderism.
Or one of Aphrodite's kids.
Well, because, Hermes was hermaphroditic, same as Aphrodite.
Oh, yeah. I thought that she actually had... I thought Hermaphrodite was actually, like, a child of Aphrodite.
Yeah,
the lesser-known ones.
It kind of came from Hermes and Aphrodite. Like, that's the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
It's some weird shit, and it goes into, like, Hermes is the dual-sided god. He's the god of Mercury. He's the Gemini patron saint god. Like, there's the duality thing. Duality's a big thing with Hermes, and it's weird.
If there's any trans or non-binary pagans in the chat who want to confirm or deny any of this...
Well, no, this is something that I know.
Well, yeah,
I'm not just bullshitting.
No, I assume that you do know. I'm just asking, is there anyone in our chat who specifically has a god that they pray to for these things?
Testosterone.
Testosterone, yeah.
I wouldn't know specifically because, of course, you know, being trans back in those days was looked significantly different than being trans now.
Yeah. Well, and I know that Hermes also has some correlation to medicine because the Caduceus.
Yeah, he's the god of medicine. Well, one of the gods of medicine. Also, Apollo is there, but Apollo's the god of fucking everything.
Yeah. And then there's Asclepius.
Yeah.
Who's... Did he get promoted to god?
God, it's been...
This is an entirely different podcast now.
It's been so long. It's been so long since I used to read through Edith Hamilton's mythology religiously.
I need to borrow that from your mom, by the way.
I think we own it now.
Do we have a copy?
Yeah, we have a copy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We found it at a thrift store.
Yeah.
Entirely new podcast now. We're talking about pagan shit.
Sorry. But yeah, no, I used to read it religiously, and I was also really big into Hermes for a while. Considered working with him, decided against it, but... Yeah.
Okay, see, that I didn't know, because I've only known you for working with Anubis.
Yeah.
So I did not know that you would consider Hermes.
Because he's the god of Mercury, and he's the Gemini god.
Yeah.
So, like, you know,
That
it
tracks.
made sense. but I didn't want to make things more complicated for me, I guess.
That's fair and valid. I'm just over here with like my basic starter pack, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of good to go, Chaol's out of there.
HOTTOGO. Alyssa Cleese hormones are hot to go.
All right, let's keep going. But sleep wouldn't come soon, and a while later...
No, girl, you're gonna be up all
no,
night.
girl. The door opened again, and someone laughed. I intercepted Chaol, and he informed me of your condition. You'd think a man in his position wouldn't be so squeamish, especially after examining all those corpses. Alyssa opened an eye and frowned as Dorian sat on her bed.
I'm in a state of absolute agony, and I can't be bothered.
It can't be that bad. You want a fucking bed?
Hook Dorian up to one of those period pain simulators.
Just grab his balls and twist. We'll see how bad it is. He said, fishing a deck of cards from his jacket. Want to play?
I already told you that I don't feel well.
You look fine to me. He skillfully shuffled the deck. Just one game.
Don't you pay people to entertain you?
Neither one of them is earning points, but Chaol is definitely earning more points for just being hilarious.
Chaol's like, oh shit, I'm out of my depth here. Meanwhile, Dorian's just like, haha, it can't be that bad.
He glowered, breaking the deck. You should be honored by my company.
I'd be honored if you would leave.
Girl, I'm on your side now. For someone who relies on my good graces, you're very bold.
Bold? I've barely begun.
Lying on her side, she curled her knees to her chest. He laughed, pocketing the deck of cards.
Dude, she's PMSing. Fuck off.
Your new canine companion is doing well, if you wish to know. She moaned into her pillow.
Go away. I feel like dying.
No fair maiden should die alone, he said, putting a hand on hers. Shall I read to you in your final moments? What story would you like? She snatched her hand back.
How about the story of the idiotic prince who wouldn't leave the assassin alone?
Oh, I love that story. It has such a happy ending, too. Why, the assassin was really feigning her illness in order to get the prince's attention. Who would have guessed it? Such a clever girl.
God.
And the bedroom scene is so lovely. It's worth reading through all of their ceaseless banter.
Out, out, out. Leave me be and go womanize someone else.
She grabbed a book and chucked it at him.
He is like being insufferable right now. I would just yeet him. I would simply yeet him out the window.
I can't even manage full Harvey shrills.
Yeah.
Like, justified. He caught it before it broke his nose and her eyes widened.
I didn't mean, that wasn't an attack. It was just a joke. I didn't mean to actually hurt you, Your Highness, she said in a jumble. I'd hoped that Aderlin's assassin would choose to attack me in a more dignified manner, at least with a sword or a knife, though preferably not in the back. She clutched her belly and bent over. Sometimes she hated being a woman. It's Dorian, by the way, not Your Highness. Very well.
Say it.
Say what?
Say my name. Say very well, Dorian. She rolled her eyes.
If it pleases your magnanimous holiness, I shall call you by your first name.
Magnanimous holiness? Oh, I like that one. A ghost of a smile appeared on her face, and Dorian looked down at the book. This isn't one of the books that I sent you. I don't even own books like these. She laughed weakly and took the tea from the servant as she approached.
Of course you don't, Dorian. I had the maid send for a copy today.
Okay, so they're doing all this, and the maid is still in there, like...
She's just like...
Oh, the gossip's gonna be piping hot today.
The servants' quarter's gonna be like, you would never fucking guess what I saw.
Also, they're really just throwing around that she's an assassin. I thought only Philippa knew about that shit.
Yeah.
So, way to blow your cover. Some maid right there, cleaning up your vomit.
But that's a maid that doesn't have a name, like...
She doesn't count.
She doesn't count as a person.
Sunset's Passions, he read, and opened the book to a random page to read aloud.
Oh, she's in there reading porn. Another relatable experience.
His hands gently caressed her ivory, silky His eyes widened. By the word, do you actually read this rubbish? What happened to symbols and power and Elway customs and culture? She finished her drink, the ginger tea easing her stomach.
You may borrow it when I'm done. If you read it, your literary experience will be complete. And, she added with a coy smile, it will give you some creative ideas of things to do with your lady friends.
He hissed through his teeth. I will not read this.
Boy, she's on the rag. She's gonna be reading porn for a bit.
Shut the fuck up, dude. Let her cope. She took the book from his hands, leaning back.
Then I suppose you're just like Chaol.
Chaol? He asked, falling into the trap. You asked Chaol to read this? You talking to my man?
That's my husband.
He refused, of course, she lied. He said it wasn't right for him to read this sort of material if I gave it to him.
Dorian snatched the book from her hands. Give me that, you demon woman. I'll not have you matching us against each other.
You won't get between me and my husband.
That's my man. He glanced once more at the novel, then turned it over, concealing the title. She smiled and resumed watching the falling snow. It was blisteringly cold now, and even the fire could not warm the blasts of winds that crept through the cracks of her balcony doors. She felt Dorian watching her, and not in the cautious way that Chaol sometimes watched her. Rather, Dorian just seemed to be watching her because he enjoyed watching her, and she enjoyed watching him too. POV switch tilde. Dorian didn't realize he'd been transfixed by her until she straightened and demanded,
What are you staring at?
You're beautiful, Dorian said before he could think.
Don't be stupid.
She's on her period, dude. Leave her alone.
Literally, why haven't you fucked off yet?
Like, Chaol granted her a mercy.
She wants to sit in here and read her porn and drink her tea.
Leave her alone.
Go away.
Did I offend you? His blood pumped through him in a strange rhythm.
No,
she said, and quickly faced the window. Dorian watched her face turn redder and redder. He'd never known an attractive woman for so long without courting her, save for Caltaine, and he couldn't deny that he was aching to learn what Elisicle's lips felt like, what her bare skin smelled like, how she'd react to the touch of his fingers along her body. She's on her period. Let her be.
She is feeling right now at her least sexy. Can you go away?
The week surrounding Yulemas was a time of relaxation, a time to celebrate the carnal pleasures that kept one warm on a winter's night. Women wore their hair down, some even refused to don a corset. It was a holiday to feast on the fruits of the harvest and those of the flesh.
No corset, dang.
Naturally, he looked forward to it every year, but now he had a sinking feeling in his stomach. How could he celebrate when word had just arrived of what his father's soldiers had done to those Elway rebels?
Okay, but wait a second. And this is where my history nerd comes in. If they're not wearing their corsets, how are they fitting into those dresses? Because a lot of the clothes of the time period, especially women's clothes, were made with, like, your undergarments in mind.
Who knows, man?
Like, those clothes must be not very comfortable to wear.
They hadn't spared a single life. 500 people. 500 men.
You
all
stop
dead.
That.
No.
You've already made this reference.
No, I will not stop. Winberg.
Winberg. Cease.
I am Claudicius. Winberg. No one's gonna understand that. No, not a damn person.
Shake my head. Shake my head. For real.
How could he ever look Nehemia in the face again? I believe the expression is in the eye. But okay, close enough.
In their face, you know. He does the autistic thing where you look in the center of someone's forehead instead of directly into their eyes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And how could he someday rule a country whose soldiers had been trained to have so little compassion for human life? Dorian's mouth went dry. Elisicles was from Terrasen, another conquered country, and his father's first conquest. It was a miracle Elisicles bothered to acknowledge his existence.
It's weird how he knows that she's from Terrasen.
It's weird that this is being brought up now.
Yeah.
He's like, damn, how can I be horny when there's war crimes happening?
Like,
didn't stop fucking Rhysand and Farah.
Like, wasn't the whole point that, like, you know, she's keeping that a secret that she's from Terrasen? Unless I'm forgetting something in the fucking mushy amalgam of conversations that characters have had. Like, because she kind of, like, kept it a secret that she was from Terrasen, right?
I'm not really sure because at the beginning when they're going through the forest after leaving Endovier, she kind of makes reference to being familiar with the area.
Yeah, but like she
So
can be
it's not a
familiar.
stretch.
She can be familiar with the area, but like, wouldn't that be too much information to give? Given that she's, you know, a fucking assassin.
I don't know, dude. I don't know anymore. I don't remember anymore. I just don't understand why this is being brought up now instead of sooner if he's known the whole time.
I don't know, man.
Or perhaps she'd spent so long in Adderland that she'd stopped caring. Somehow Dorian didn't think that was the case, not when she had the 3 giant scars on her back to forever remind her of his father's brutality. "Is there something the matter?" she asked, cautiously, curiously, as if she cared. He took a deep breath and walked to the window, unable to look at her. There's still a fresh, cleaned up vomit pile over there, dude. Like, you're stepping in pine sol right now. The glass was cold beneath
Ye
his
old
hand.
pine sol.
Ye old pine sol. The glass was cold beneath his hand, and he watched the snowflakes come crashing down to earth.
Snowflakes don't really crash down, they just kind of, like, even in heavy snow, they kind of drift.
Yeah.
They don't really crash unless it's like hail.
Yeah.
In which case, it's not snow. It's not snow anymore. That's hail.
"You must hate me," he murmured. "Hate me and my court for our frivolity and mindlessness."
I mean,
when
yeah, she's made no
She's said this.
fucking mystery of that.
She has said this multiple times. Also, she is literally just going through it with PMS cramping right now. Can you
She's
save
like,
it?
Can you go away?
Can you
Oh my
save
God.
this for literally any other time? "When so many horrible things are going on outside of this city. I heard about those butchered rebels and I'm ashamed." Like, everyone's coming to her to talk about the butchered rebels. Like,
And she's just over here like, I'm gonna throw up again.
shouldn't you be offering your condolences to Nehemia?
Yeah, like, why aren't you talking to Nehemia about this?
Because she should be the main character.
Yeah.
You want the main character to hear about this stuff. He said, leaning his head against the window. He heard her rise and then slump into a chair. The words came out in a river, one flowing after the other, and he couldn't stop himself from speaking. "I understand why you have such ease when killing my kind, and I don't blame you for it." "Dorian."
She has ease from killing your kind because she is an assassin. That is literally her job description. She was trained to do this.
"Dorian," she said gently. I can't do gentle in the Harpy Shrill's voice, sorry. The world outside the castle was dark. "I know you'll never tell me," he continued, voicing what he had wanted to say for some time, "but I know something terrible happened to you when you were young, something perhaps of my father's own doing. You have a right to hate Adderland for seizing control of Terrasen as it did, for taking all the countries and the country of your friend." He swallowed, his eyes stinging. "You won't believe me, but I don't want to be part of that. I can't call myself a man when I allow my father to encourage such unforgivable atrocities. Yet even if I pleaded for clemency on behalf of the conquered kingdoms, he wouldn't listen. Not in this world. This is the world where I only picked you to be my champion because I knew it would annoy my father." She shook her head, but he kept going. "But if I had refused to sponsor a champion, my father would have seen it as a sign of dissent, and I'm not yet enough of a man to stand against him like that. So I chose Adderland's assassin to be my champion, because the choice of my champion was the only choice I had." I feel like we've known this.
Yeah.
I feel like he told her this.
I feel like this is spelling out something that both the characters should already have realized by now, and also the reader. So why are we spelling it out? Why does Sarah J. Maas not trust her audience to pick up on this thing?
Like, I thought this was kind of from the word go.
Yeah.
An understanding that they had that he doesn't like his dad. He's choosing her to get under his skin.
Yeah.
And she's going with it because she fucking hates him. Like,
yeah.
At what point were we not in agreement on that?
We're just spelling things out now. And this is, once again, not trusting your audience to have media literacy, which maybe that's a fair take at this point, since media literacy is pretty bad nowadays.
Like, acknowledging that this is for teenagers, you might want to, maybe remind them what the base plot was when you have essentially abandoned it for the last 200 pages. But that's on you.
Maybe it's the deep autism, but I wouldn't have, forgotten that very key point about Dorian's character. It's literally one of his 3 traits.
He's got 3 traits.
The other 2 being he is a womanizer, and also he is gay as fuck for his captain of the guard. Those are his 3 traits. Hates his dad, womanizer, in love with Chaol.
He's got 3 traits.
And
that's it.
And the 3rd trait is purely me coping.
He's got 2.
He's got 2, and one that I choose to believe is also there.
He has 2.5 traits.
Yes.
Yes, it was all clear now. Life shouldn't be like this, he said, their eyes meeting as he gestured at the room. And the world shouldn't be like this. The assassin was silent, listening to the throbbing of her heart before she spoke. I don't hate you.
How can you listen to the throb of your heart? Who's able to hear their own heartbeat? I guess maybe if you
It's not literal.
Really, I don't know.
It's not literal.
Well, then why did they say it?
The tism is tisming. She said in little more than a whisper. He dropped into the chair across from her and put his head in a hand.
Or better yet, she could have just said, listening to the palpable silence or something. Because silence is a thing you can listen to. But
he seemed remarkably lonely. And I don't
think you're like them. I'm sorry if I've hurt you. I'm joking most of the time.
Hurt me, he said. You haven't hurt me. You've made things a little more entertaining. She cocked her head.
Just a little.
Maybe a tad more than that. He stretched out his legs. If only you could come to the Yulmus ball with me. Be grateful you can't attend.
Why can't I attend? And what's the Yulmus ball?
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's a Christmas party, bitch.
It's a ball on Yulmus. He groaned. Nothing all that special, just a masked ball that happens to be on Yulmus. And I think you know exactly why you can't come.
You and Chaol really delight in ruining any fun I might have, don't you? I like attending parties.
When you're my father's champion, you can attend all the balls you want. She made a face. He wanted to tell her then that if he could, he would have asked her to go with him, that he wanted to spend time with her, and he thought of her even when they were apart, but he knew she would have laughed. The clock chimed midnight. We're back to being a Cinderella retelling. I should probably go, he said, stretching his arms. I have a day of council meetings to look forward to tomorrow, and I don't think Duke Parrington will be pleased if I'm half asleep for all of them. Elisocles smirked.
Be sure to give the Duke my warmest regards.
There's no way she'd forgotten how the Duke had treated her that first day in Endovier. Dorian hadn't forgotten it either, and the thought of the Duke treating her like that again made him burn with cold rage. Without thinking, he leaned down and kissed her cheek. She stiffened as his mouth touched her skin, and though the kiss was brief, he breathed in the scent of her.
Is that watermelon?
Pulling away was surprisingly hard. Rest well, Selina, he said.
Good night, Dorian.
As he left, he wondered why she suddenly looked so sad, and why she'd pronounced his name not with tenderness, but with resignation. POV switch tilde. Elisocles stared at the moonlight as it streamed across the ceiling. A masked ball on Yulmus, even if it was the most corrupt and ostentatious court in Aeriel, it sounded dreadfully romantic. And of course she wasn't allowed to go. She let out a long sigh through her nose and tucked her hands
behind. Don't worry,
behind.
Philippa will make you a dress and also some fancy glass footwear.
We're back to being Cinderella.
We're finally got the Cinderella plot. It only took
262 pages.
262 pages for it to be Cinderella.
Woo. She let out a long sigh through her nose and tucked her hands beneath her head. What? That's all, folks. Was that what Chaol had wanted to ask her before she vomited? A true invitation to the ball?
No, he can't invite her.
I think he was, though. I think he was going to be like, oh, if you were allowed to come, would you come with me? And I'm like, no, go dance with your husband, you dumb bitch. She shook her head. No, the last thing he'd ever do would be to invite her to a royal ball. Besides, both of them had more important things to worry about, like whoever was killing the champions. Perhaps she should have sent word to him about Kane's strange behavior earlier that afternoon. Yeah, you probably fucking should have. But you were having PMS cramps, so I'll allow it this time. I'll overlook it.
Overlooked for now.
Reasonable excuse. Cleese closed her eyes and smiled. She could think of no nicer Yulmus gift than for Kane to be found dead the next morning. You could make that happen. You could do that.
You have the power.
Still, as the clock marked the passing hours, Cleese kept her vigil, waiting, wondering what truly lurked in the castle, and unable to stop thinking of those 500 dead Elway rebels buried in some unmarked grave. And that is the end of the chapter.
That's the end of the best chapter of this book.
Best chapter, period. Oh, that was actually very fun. And now we are moving on to something that will be fun in a more painful way. Fun for you guys. Because we have finished recording season 1, quote unquote, of Keep It in the Drafts. A show podcast thing where we talk about my old ass writing.
And it's specifically for
supporters. Only supporters.
On Ko-fi and Patreon.
And now YouTube members. Yeah, we got monetization back, baby.
Yay.
So if you want exclusive content where we tear apart my old writing with the same fervor and idiocracy that we do this. Not idiocracy, idiocy. I'm dumb.
Idiocy, yeah.
Whatever. Everything's unscripted.
Just like these.
Yeah, so if you enjoy these videos and you want to hear me talk the same way about my own writing, we have that for supporters. And we are about to start, quote-unquote, season 2, which goes from... The first season was my high school writing. It was the first attempt that I had of writing Alice, which was retooled, reworked, heavily edited, and eventually published. We're about to start recording reactions to my middle school writing.
Which was never to see the light of day in any way, shape, or form.
Like, I had to introduce Ray to my middle school culture.
I mean, introduce as if it sort of wasn't half also my middle school culture.
Yeah, that's fair. So if you want to hear us talk about that, become a supporter on Ko-fi, Patreon, or a YouTube channel member, and you will have access to Keep It in the Drafts. And now I'm going to go scream into a pillow for roughly 20 minutes until I am too lightheaded to resist continuing this recording. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to my patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or in the description below, please consider joining my Patreon. Your support means so much to me and allows me to continue making content. If you want to support my content in different ways, consider buying my books, donating on Ko-fi, subscribing to the channel, or even just giving this video a like and comment. Any and everything is appreciated so much. Keep growing till next time, Rose Garden!